FrankTalks.com.
Taking a relationship to the next level. This is Passion with Dr. Laurie.
Welcome to the show, a show all about love, sex, and relationships. I'm Dr. Laurie Betito. I'm a clinical psychologist. I specialize in sexuality. And tonight on the program, we focus on dating questions. We call this feature Dating Dilemmas. In studio with me are two dating experts. One is a dating coach, Frank Kermit. The other is Fritz-Gerald, who runs EliteSpeedDating.com. He runs events in Montreal and Toronto. You just have to sign up on the website. So I thought we would have a theme tonight, or at least Frank decided the theme was going to be tonight. And we always start by posting it on Facebook and then getting people's questions and people's feedback. So the whole idea of finances, the whole financial thing, money, how important is money? There's plenty of stereotypes out there in terms of dating and money and what have you. And a lot of men, I know, I've seen the texts come in from guys who are angry because they feel women are only looking for rich guys and they don't give them the time of day, and et cetera, et cetera. So let's put it out there. If you have thoughts about how important are finances, or what about finances is important to you if you are out there in the dating world. Is it somebody's debt level? Is it somebody's job? Is it, I don't know. There's so many factors here that we can actually bring in. And of course, it matters which stage of life you're in. That question will change. So if you write to us, if you text us, tell us how old you are as well, so we have an idea of what age group is thinking what. You can call in at 1-800-491-2523. You can text in at 514-800 or 71010, 514-800 or 71010. So what has been some of the feedback on Facebook?
It's been fantastic. It's been hilarious. We have had all kinds of people write in things. One guy writes in that a real man could buy a loaf of bread and feed the ducks on a date and still end up with sex that night. So money does not factor in for dating for him.
Okay, but maybe that's for sex that night. So he shows that he's nice and he's taking care of animals. He's feeding the ducks. Okay, he might get lucky, but somebody who's looking for a casual relationship, would they really care that much about the person's financial situation?
Usually, and this seems to be the general trend, if all you're looking for is fun, you tend not to care about the person's financial situation. You really don't care if a lot of money was spent, unless your interpretation of fun is, I want to go out for a certain type of dinner. I want to go out for a certain type of level of fun. And that's been one of the big comments. Having money means more options. Mm-hmm. If you have money, you can say, let's go out tonight just because you can afford it. You're not there counting your pennies.
Right.
And although there's a lot of things that you can do for free, and if you're looking for a serious relationship, and this is where the divide is. Some people are saying if you're looking for a serious relationship, money does not matter. And other people are saying, if you want to get into a serious relationship with me, money does matter because I don't want to date somebody under a certain income level. I want to make sure the person's making at least as much as me or more. I've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Some of them are single parents.
Right. And some people are saying, I know that in my age category, let's say in the 40s and 50s, I'm in the 50s, but there's you're in a different life stage. So you may end up dating somebody who's paying a lot of alimony. Or whatever, child support, and supporting one family. I've seen people support two families. And then it's like, do I want to get involved with someone whose financial obligations involve two families because they have more, or an ex, or whatever it is, and how does that impact me? One
guy actually pointed this out. He says he'll only date women who make a certain amount of income because he doesn't want to be in the position of getting serious with somebody and paying alimony again.
I'm curious, in your speed dating events, how does money ever come in as a question? Like, is that a question that people? It's a very delicate question.
It's a delicate question, yes, but it comes out in a different form. They don't flat out say, how much do you make?
Yeah.
What they do say is, what do you do?
Right.
And that already puts the meter on, or
is that
the gauge.
I thought that was a question we should kind of avoid in that kind of situation, but yet it's a thing that people really want to know, right?
Yes, I agree. I tell them exactly that. This is not an interview. You have take 2, 3, 4, 5 to figure out all of those questions. Right now, you have a limited amount of time. See if you get a spark. But yet again, over and over again, as you walk around, first question is, hi, how are you? My name is, and what do you do?
What do you do in life?
And from there, you'll actually see some physical
distancing
depending on the answer. If that person is making somewhat good money or has good education and whatnot, they'll stay relatively close.
Ooh, that's an interesting observation.
If you see right there that it's not good, or not, I shouldn't say not good, not to the other person's standard, then you will see a divide. They'll be more away. They'll be waiting for the 5 minutes to end. They'll be looking at the card to see what other types of icebreaker questions there can be, because they've already stopped at, this is not going to work out. You don't make enough.
Right. God forbid you end up saying, I'm unemployed at the moment,
Yes.
That might.
And
yet some people are between jobs,
That does. People who are unemployed right now, in between jobs, collecting unemployment insurance, all of those things factor in. One of the big questions that came up through this process, people were asking, if you are well-to-do, when do you bring that up on a date? And the answer is, if you are worried that the other person's going to be too intimidated and run away, you're better off letting them know and ending the date early than to take the time and get to know them and find out that they really can't handle it anyway.
They can't handle that you have money?
They can't handle that you make more money than them. For example, some women have said... If she's making more money than he is and he has a problem with it, you want to find out right away, because you don't want to waste your time. That's the worst thing.
And it also... So usually it's the men who are intimidated by that?
This is what they're reporting. Right. The women are saying men have a hard time with the fact that I make more money than he does, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't throw it in his face, but he becomes frustrated. I've had women say the opposite, where they had more money, they would pay for the man, and over time they'd start to resent him for it. So we're getting both sides of this here from women reporting this.
Right.
And the final thing is, some people are worried about being taken advantage of. So they're saying, I don't want to say that I'm well-to-do, because I don't want somebody to take advantage of that. Usually it's the men who are very worried about being taken advantage of, and they're saying, how do I get away with saying, I don't want to talk about it right now?
And yet I've seen men also use it.
Oh, they use it. They're like, well, it doesn't matter who pays. Sure, you're either saying that because you never pay for a date, or you have an abundance of wealth, so it doesn't matter to you either way.
But it's not just that. It doesn't matter who pays. It's trying to impress with the money. Sometimes you see situations where there's that going on. Tonight on the program, Dating Dilemmas, we focus on your dating issues with Fritz-Gerald, who is the founder and president of Elite Speed Dating, and Frank Kermit, who is a dating coach and the author of many books and lectures on dating. And his website is franktalks.com. So if you have questions about dating, anything, and also we'd love to hear your thoughts on just on financial issues. Like, how much does that play or did play in your seeking out relationships, in your dating life? We'd love to get some of your feedback. 514-800 to text in, or 71010. You're certainly welcome to call in as well. 1-800-491-2523. You're listening to Passion with me, Dr. Laurie.
Whether you need to learn how to talk or something more hands-on, she can help. Passion with Dr. Laurie.
Tonight on Passion Dating Dilemmas, we focus on your dating issues, your questions. We have Frank Kermit and Fritz-Gerald in studio with us to talk about dating. And one of the issues that has come up, of course, is finances. It's just one of those taboo topics when it comes to dating that people, they always think about it. They don't necessarily kind of verbalize it, but we're talking about that tonight. So here's a question for you. By the way, you can text them in at 514-800 or 71010. I was married for 20 years and divorced for the last 8 years. I'm looking to get back in the dating scene after the holidays, but my problem is where to start. Now, divorced for the last 8 years. Where have you been for 8 years? What have you been doing for 8 years? Why not start before that?
Well, chances are the person probably had kids that they were focusing on.
Yeah, maybe.
So that would make sense to me. Where do you start? The first thing I'd like you to do is to take stock of what kind of lifestyle you want, because you want to find a partner that can match that lifestyle. Right. Don't just base it on who you happen to find attractive, because that does not necessarily mean that the person who turns you on the most is going to be the best partner for you. Now, if you're looking for something serious, you start with your lifestyle and you work your way back. Once you have an idea of the type of person that you want to date, and if you don't want something serious, you want something just a bit more casual, once again, what do you want to do for fun? And work your way backwards towards that person.
Okay.
Then you got to figure out, now, where would a person like that hang out?
Mm-hmm.
You want to date a professional, whether it's for fun or something more serious? Well, where do professionals usually hang out? Universities. Look for speed dating events that maybe cater to professionals. You're looking at maybe associations and different conferences that cater to professionals.
Right.
That's where you're going to go.
Even volunteering on board of directors, like boards and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Charity events.
Right.
Because you're looking for a particular niche market. And that's how you have to think about it. You're looking to cast a net. But to simply say that, oh, go online or go here or go there.
That's too wide. That's too wide of a net.
It's too wide of a net simply because you're casting a really big net when you're only looking for a very particular type of person that you want to date.
Right. So first you have to decide what you're fishing for.
And then you go to the particular pond that those fish happen to be in.
That's right. Okay. Or else just plenty of fish. Just throw it out there and wait. But the problem with that is you can be there a lot. You could be fishing for a very long time. When you don't narrow your focus, I think it's a lot harder. Even though you have a greater pool, you're also throwing back a lot of fish.
This is why dating is more complicated today than it ever was. Everybody has the power of choice. The social norms are gone. You can date who you want, how often you want, as many people as you want. You can structure any kind of dating relationships you want. But if you don't have some criteria to narrow your focus, the abundance of choice without knowing what to do with it, without being self-aware, that's what's leading to all this misery and complication.
Yeah.
If I could interject for a second, I would like.
Are you going to argue with Frank now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bring it
Possibly.
on. Bring it on.
Now, you started with the premise that that's why dating is so complicated nowadays.
More than.
Mm-hmm. I would say this is why dating is easier nowadays, because you have that much choice, because you have that many options. It makes it much more easier to be in the dating process.
I just hear so many more complaints, though, from people who are just so frustrated because they say it's supposed to be so easy because there's so many people, but I can't find anybody.
Exactly.
And among all these people, I'm going nuts. I'm just meeting loser after loser.
I agree. The thing is, it's not the dating that's hard. It's narrowing your choice and actually picking someone that's harder.
Which is
but
what I had said.
The dating portion is, hey, it's a free-for-all. You can do whatever you want.
There was a time when social norms dictated who you could date from whatever small limited pool you came from. And then you could say, well, I only have the option of 7 people. You pick the best out of the 7 and you go with it. Nowadays, you're dealing with
7,000 people.
7 million people. You can date overseas. You can date across
well, that's
the country.
online, right? It can happen.
Okay, so you have all this abundance of choice, but if you don't have that narrow focus, as you were talking about, that's where people lose out. The people who win at dating, they know what they're looking for. They have a really good idea. They got their parameters set, and they stick to their own rules. and then they go and find people who fit those roles within the areas that their niche happens to be. Those are the people that win in dating all the time. That's what I do. When somebody comes to me and says, I'm lost, I start off with, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Give me a detail. Even if the person's really young, what do you want to do when you retire? Because what I'm looking for are the value systems that they have that they're not consciously aware of.
Right.
And then once I take all that, I say, so you're looking for somebody who can do A, B, C, and D with you. Yes, that's exactly right.
Right.
Okay, well, where would a person who does A, B, and C,
D hang out? Right.
What would they be studying? What type of places would they go for fun? And that's where you're going to meet somebody.
Okay. More questions. This one from Montreal. Even though women say they want equality, they still expect men to pay for dates, child support, alimony, etc. So reality, society hasn't changed much. They still expect men to be the breadwinner. You know, I have to disagree with that at some point. I think that's wrong. I think the women that I know who are independent and who work and do not expect men to pay. They appreciate the gallantry when that happens and what have you, but they don't have a problem feeling equal. I think they know those are the women who no.
I disagree. Okay. Even in the thread, there was women who said in the thread they become
in your
resentful.
Facebook thread,
In the Facebook thread, they become resentful when they have to pay, and a lot of women were saying even in that thread, man has to pay for at least the first date. And some of the guys were saying, yeah, we should pay because otherwise she's going to think we're a cheapskate.
I think there's a difference between being equal and still having chivalry, gallantry, being a gentleman. You could definitely be equal, but you can still do certain things that are polite, well thought of, and whatnot. I was raised by a single mother. I think that I respect women very much. My partner is my equal, but I still open the door. I still pay for dinner. There's certain
So you believe in
things.
equal. So let me get this straight. You believe in equality and then offering special treatment to one person and not the other. What's the chivalry and special treatment you get?
From her?
Well, from women in general, when you were dating, you're saying you're going to open the door and do all the things. And look, I do the same thing for my wife.
I'm
I
using
open the door
things
too.
that are most people think about when they think about chivalry. But for instance, when I need help, she also helps me doing whatever I need. She offers to pay. She actually drives more than I do. Because some people think that, that's a factor. But she drives more than I
don't expect my husband to do anything more than the only thing I expect him to do that I can do. Like, could you just take care of picking up those tires because they're too heavy for me to lift, or things that I know he can do better than I can do, and vice versa. But it feels equal.
But when does chivalry get to the point where somebody feels they're being taken advantage of?
I don't know.
I got no problem opening the door for my wife.
I open the door for everybody.
Great.
For I don't care who you are,
but
wife, man, husband, whatever.
But you go on how many dates where you are going to be the man and having to pay, and at what point do you say, you know what, I'm paying too much and I'm not.
I don't think it should be taken. I don't think that it should be taken for granted that you go out with a guy and the guy should be paying. I think that a woman has to show respect as well. And even whether it's a hetero relationship, a gay relationship, that there should be an offering to do that. It should be like, hey, let me take care of this. Or if you know the other person makes a hell of a lot more money than you should still be offering to do something, to take care of something.
I agree.
I just have to read you this. It's very funny. No equality as long as women are afraid of spiders. I love that. I have to say, that's the best line of the night. Because that is one thing I scream to get my husband to do. Kill that spider!
Well, this is why women get married, right? So the husband can kill the spiders.
I don't know, this is very funny. Thank you for the for the laugh. So this is, listen, it's interesting. It's an interesting debate, and I think, sometimes even women get a little confused because it's true. We say, no, we want to be treated equally, but what does that mean? There is a difference between, yes, being treated equally, equal pay for equal work, and that kind of equality.
Why not everybody pay for themselves?
But you also, that's fine, but it's also nice when somebody treats you the same way that I would treat somebody else. I wouldn't always expect it one way. I would be very happy. I love giving. Gifts are nice to receive, but I also really enjoy giving. So that, to me, if I'm not offering, if there's no reciprocity, that would feel like being taken advantage of.
Yes. But look at, what was her name? Brittany Pierre and a few other bloggers, women who admitted that they line up a number of dates, first dates only, with no intention of dating the guy afterwards, just so they can get free meals at fast food restaurants.
Okay, I think that's disgusting.
Okay, I agree, but that's what happens. So
when that's your motivation, I don't have much, unfortunately, respect for that. This is Dating Dilemmas. Frank Kermit and Fritz-Gerald in studio. If you have dating questions, we have a whole bunch that we'd like to get to. No more spider questions. Then we will, we'd love to hear from you. 514-800 or 71010 if you'd like to text in. If you want to call in, it's 1-800-491-2523. This is Passion, a show all about sexuality.
She can help improve your love life in a few different ways. Passion with Dr. Laurie.
Tonight on the program, Dating Dilemmas. In studio, we have Frank Kermit of FrankTalks.com and Fritz-Gerald of EliteSpeedDating.com, who organizes speed dating events in Montreal and Toronto. You just have to sign up online, upload a profile of sorts, right? And then you let people know when the events are happening, and you kind of match people up. And
that's correct.
Yeah, depending on what it is you're looking for. If you are very specific, you also have very specific events, right?
Yes. If you're looking for someone that's actually very, very specific, we have different types of memberships that you can join, but you can also just buy a ticket for a regular event where there is no criteria whatsoever, and you can participate and meet your significant other, or hopefully your match, or just the fun for a night. But you will definitely meet someone that night.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good. To me, it's just a practice to socialize, practice to talk and ask questions, and just I think it's a great idea. I love those ideas. All right, we have a couple of questions here for you. We've been talking about the financial aspect. That's been something that finances and dating. So this person writes, problem I have is I make too much money where I do not want to be with anyone who makes less than me, as I do not want to support him ever. I'm a female, 56, co-parenting 2 kids. Most men have a problem with that. Would love a soulmate, but don't want to have anyone move into my home ever. Best scenario is he has his house and stuff, and me, I have mine. I do not ever want to be taken for. Do I have a chance? Is this something that she could actually find?
Yes, actually, it's something that's happening a lot with older people who have money, who have a home, and who don't want to risk losing their stability. The most you can have is a monogamous relationship where the two of you are a couple, where one person would stay at somebody else's house for 2 or 3 days a week, meaning they come in on a Friday, they might leave on a Monday.
Yeah, or they just have occasional sleepovers or whatever.
Exactly. But that's pretty much it. You go out as a couple, you are seen as a couple, but you both live separately. It gets complicated when there are children involved. And at times, some people say, I don't want my children to see that my boyfriend or girlfriend is coming over and sleeping over. I don't want to make that normal for them and send a message to them while they're teenagers, and maybe encourage certain behaviors that might be a bit irresponsible at that point.
It's also a way to maintain your financial independence and reduce complications.
Right. But even in those cases, because you're not as invested, usually most people in those type of setups don't end up staying monogamous for long, simply because you have your life, I have my life.
Well, it depends how intertwined they are. Just because you're sleeping in separate homes, you can still be quite intertwined in life.
You can, but it doesn't happen as much. It's a great intellectual construct, but try to do that for years for years and years. She's making it clear she never wants someone to move in with her. She doesn't obviously want to move in with someone.
She has to find someone else who feels the same way. I've seen that. I've seen couples actually be quite successful. I've known a few couples who do it that way.
Here's what I would suggest. Because this is so important for her, and it really is going to be that major deal breaker, I would suggest that she be upfront about it right from the get-go. Mm-hmm. If she has an online profile, start off by saying, look, I own my own house. I have this certain lifestyle. I'm not looking to move in. I'm not looking for this. And if she's looking for a monogamous relationship, to simply say, I'm looking for a monogamous relationship that meets these parameters. One caveat, though. Looking for someone who's making more money than her and who wants this kind of lifestyle, that's where she's going to struggle. My advice is, it's okay to be independent, but as soon as you attach a number to it,
right.
If somebody's making even a couple $100,000 less than you but wants the same things, it'll work.
Right.
Don't get fixated on the number. Fixate on the lifestyle.
Especially it doesn't matter if they have their own home or their own things to take care of. You're keeping your finances independent anyway.
Yeah. I was
or
agreeing
separate,
with you up
right?
until I was disagreeing with you actually.
Up until now?
Up until you said when the person is not invested. I believe when she says, do I have a chance? Well, you have a chance, maybe 1%, 2%, 3%, but
you think it's low?
I think it's extremely low, because if you're looking at a pool of people that will fit that exact type, and you are not willing to let go some of the things, and the key words here in what was described was, I don't ever want to, and I don't ever.
Right. Can you really say ever? Because what about 10 years down the road? What about 20 years down the road?
If you're not willing to budge, or you're not willing to make some kind of, big word now, compromise, then look, is there a chance? Of course there is. It's very probable.
It'll just be harder to find.
Yes. It will be harder to find.
I think that pool is growing. I believe that pool is growing.
I agree with Frank on that. I do think that pool is growing. I have known a few people who are in their 50s and 60s who are dating who say the same thing. Look, I like my independence.
I like my freedom. I like my life the way it is. I want some companionship.
Right. She said, I make a lot of money. Let's understand what is a lot of money, first of all. But if you make a lot of money and now you want someone first, like you said, Frank, that makes above your number, and that's your first criteria, that's going to be kind of hard for someone and for someone that is in your age range that also wants older at that time. I just think there's a lot of variables that need to be met.
I wish you luck, and I think you have a good chance.
I agree.
So you 2 against 1 here. One thinks he doesn't. 2 of us think
happening?
you actually do.
I normally agree with
I know.
I'm the one who's the odd man out.
So this texter from Montreal says, can I have the lady's number that makes too much money? I'm 38 years old. I have a condo in Miami and a house here. But they're from Montreal, and this lady's from Toronto. Sorry.
Well,
and I'd like to go out with her. And he says, I'd like to go out with her for her honesty with no fear. I have my own money. So you see, right here, right now, just from our pool of listeners, she would have found somebody, albeit much younger, and that shouldn't be a problem.
There you go. See,
but so what? Why would that be a problem?
I don't know if that. I agree with you that I do not think that it should be a problem, but I do think that it will be a problem at one point.
Well,
all right, you're like Debbie Downer. Go away. Here's a couple of other questions. This is a good one. Will women date a guy who does not have a car? That's a great question.
Yes.
Let me focus on something here, and this is to answer him as well as this whole topic. Whatever it is you're missing, whether it's money or a car or good looks or health, the way you make a person feel can always make up for it. Now, there are going to be times where no matter how much you make somebody feel, if they're really set on that particular parameter, that particular prejudice, you won't be able to get past it. But more often than not, people are a lot more open-minded than they think when they're getting something they don't get anywhere else, which is emotional, deep commitment and connection. You get somebody who moves you emotionally in a way that nobody else can. You get somebody who can somehow reach out and just touch your energy in a way that nobody else can. A lot of those other things, they disappear. That's charisma.
Yeah, and the car thing, look, that's a financial thing too.
Yep.
You know, if we come back to the money thing, there will be some people who will say that's a deal breaker for me. I want you to be independent. Like, I don't want to have to be doing all the driving. I want to be driven around too every once in a while, or I want you to have that level of independence, unless you have a chauffeur.
What if they don't have a car, but they have a driver's license, so they can drive?
Okay,
Yet
see,
they
that's
do
good.
not
That's
have
okay.
a car
And
because
then-
they live in the city.
That's right. They live downtown. They work downtown. They have a good job, but they see no point in having a car. And they say, you know what? I just like to rent a car when I need to rent a car.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine, too. Dating dilemmas tonight on the program. We still have time. We'll get to our phone lines, 1-800-491-2523. Of course, you can text in at 514-800 or 71010. Dating dilemmas with my panelists, Frank Kermit and Fritz-Gerald, and myself, Dr. Laurie Betito, and you are listening to Passion, a show all about love, sex, and relationships.
Baby, no, in these eyes, I can't wait to see your grin.
Stimulating radio. Passion with Dr. Laurie.
Tonight on the program, Dating Dilemmas. My panelists in studio, our regulars here, Fritz-Gerald of EliteSpeedDating.com and Frank Kermit of FrankTalks.com. And we're talking about different dating issues, dating dilemmas, dating questions. We have Stamata online. Hi, Stamata, calling from St. Leonard. Hi.
I have a customer who has her own house. Her boyfriend has her own house. They do everything together, including traveling, and the relationship is great. So I have to agree with you guys on...
So it works. She found somebody, and it works. How old is she?
She's retired, and he's retired, but they look like they're 50.
Right. And, you know, sometimes you get stuck in your way. Like, you need your space. You just need your space. You're fine. You kind of get to pick and choose when you connect.
And recently they were saying that people who live alone are happier than people who live together. Maybe not always, but I guess in some cases.
Well, they have their space and they have their connection.
Okay.
They get to go when they need to go, and they get to be together. I think it's like that for some people who really need that space.
Yeah.
They get the best of both worlds, and you just have to find someone else who values their space the same way. That's the reality.
Who wants the same thing.
That's right. Thanks so much, Stamata, for calling us. Sana from Toronto. Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my call.
Our pleasure.
I would like to ask you kindly of the trying.
Okay, are you on a? Sorry, Sana, are you on a speakerphone or something?
No.
We can't hear you.
I was told to put my radio off, and in order to ask my question.
Okay, yes, but you have to be.
I've been trying for years to find a legal partner, and I cannot get to meet someone. Most of them, I try to be in touch with them a kind of online thing, a decent site, but there is always the ghosting thing.
Hold on a sec. Let me just.
I'm not employed.
Sana, let me just try and understand, because we're not hearing you very well, so I don't know what kind of line you're on. If you're...
It could be the reception. It's raining.
Oh, yes, I know. It's raining everywhere. So you have to talk a little louder and a little slower. You've been online, you say?
Yeah, for quite a while without any success.
No success. So
No.
Is it possible that, are you getting like connections? Are people writing to you? Are you having conversations with people?
No, just a few exchange of emails. That's it.
So nothing. All right, maybe you need to change what you do in dating. Yes, Frank.
All right, let's start off. What kind of a photo are you using, or are you keeping the photo off the online?
Profile, very classy and, just normal, decent profile.
Okay, so you have a photo up, which helps.
Pardon?
Are you reaching out to people? Are you sending out first messages, or are you waiting for them to connect with you first?
No, I'm just waiting, and I'm very honest, upfront, Frank, that I'm looking for a legal partner, committed relationship. I'm getting nowhere.
But Frank is asking you the question, are you waiting for people to contact you, or are you actually making the first step and contacting people that you're interested in?
No, actually,
You're not?
I'm waiting.
Okay, don't wait. I think that's the question. That's the answer, Sana, is you need to be more active. And thanks for your call. You need to be much more active in your own dating. If you see something you like and a profile that you like, you reach out. And I think guys are appreciating that so much more. That's the feedback that I hear. They don't want to be always the chasers. They really like it when somebody, and they feel good about it.
Men are getting fed up of the sexual attention paradigm, where it's the man who has to chase, the man who has to project sexual attention, and the women who have to receive. And then they have to pay for the date. And then they always have to make the first move. And they're the ones who have to risk rejection.
Yeah.
Men are getting fed up. So they're at it. So the woman who says, wait a minute, I'm going to make the first move to him, that's the woman who wins.
Yeah. Agreed. This texter writes, was married for almost 20 years, divorced for 7. We should fix you up with Toronto person. Having such a difficult time finding a decent guy. Where do you find an intelligent, single, loving man? I can't just pop in at an association or university like when I was in my 20s. Starting all over at 52 is so tough. And I do hear that from quite a few people.
I hear it too. A lot of women in their 50s are finding it really hard to get started again. My advice to you, and you're not going to like this, focus on being a better candidate. It's not just going out and trying to find a great guy. Be the type of woman that a great guy would adore.
Okay. Here's
if I can say something about this. There's a lot being said about let's start again. And when I get people who are in the older age group, or I would like to say the more mature age group, you have life experience. It's not about starting up again. It's about continuing what you have. You have a background. It made you who you are. You are special. You clearly were able to find someone. So
you bring a lot to the table.
Exactly. Just don't forget that that's what you bring. And yes, okay, you might have kids. You might have stuff. Everybody has their own thing. Just continue being the great person you are. Stop. Let go of the negative stuff and keep going.
Go ahead, Frank.
This is why Fritz has the charisma. He was able to say something that made everybody feel good. That's why he's sweet.
That's right. This texter writes, being overweight, it's impossible to find someone. No one is ever attracted to me. It's extremely hard, especially online when they judge a book by the cover. Any thoughts?
I'm overweight. I had girlfriends, multiple girlfriends. I'm married with a kid now. Yes, a bunch of people will turn you down for being overweight. You got to focus on the people who are saying yes, and you have to work on your communication skills so they focus on your face and your eyes and your voice than they do on your stomach.
But what he's saying is it's really hard when, especially online, when it's just your photo.
Look, I'm telling you, dude, I'm a nearly 500-pound man, and I get it. Yes, there are going to be people who turn you down. That's why you got to have a good face shot. And what I used to do with every person that I dated is I would let them know, look, I'm a big guy. I'm obese. If you got a problem with it, then we're just not going to meet. And I'm telling you, yes, you are going to get rejected, but you have to keep going out there. Don't focus on the things that people reject you on. Focus on the things they're going to love about you.
I would also say try face-to-face meetings, because you're talking about online, and chances are most people just do judge a book by its cover. But if you meet someone live, hence speed dating, if I could say so myself, you will have a bigger chance of meeting someone. And also a very important fact that most people, or some people think that men pay more attention to physicality than women. I can tell you that it is wrong. Okay, so you will have actually women who, even though you're overweight, will take the time to go out with you.
And I have seen that. I've absolutely seen that. Yeah.
I think your best approach is going for the straight up face-to-face, and you can still be online, and I'm not telling you to stop, but definitely your best approach is face-to-face.
All right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Still have lots of questions we didn't get to, but that happens just about every night. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I want to thank all of you who texted in to the show. I want to thank our technical crew. We have Dave in Montreal and Pat in Toronto. You've been listening to Passion with Dr. Laurie Betito. I'd love you to stay in touch through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dr. Dr. Laurie Betito. I'll speak with you again tomorrow night. Stay tuned for The Comedy Show with your very funny man, Joey Elias. Have a great rest of the evening, and remember to fill your life with passion.
FrankTalks is sponsored in part by the Adult Male Virgin Seminars and Telephone Consultations. If you are an adult and want to get a handle on this once and for all, you need this seminar. Being an adult male virgin can be most stigmatizing in today's society. You feel like a failure in the eyes of the mass culture around you, alienated from your male friends who all talk about their sexual conquests, and you must hide this shameful secret lest they use it against you. And the very personal pain, anguish, and despair that cannot be described by words that haunts you every moment of your life. Enough is enough. It is time for male virgins to take charge of their sex lives. Frank gives you the rules of winning in this seminar. The Adult Male Virgin Seminars and Telephone Consultations. Make your first time the best time of her life. Only available at FrankTalks.com. Frank helps adult boys turn into men.
What do you do when you feel like a fool? When your heart has been broken again? Pick up the phone or get onto Skype and talk on a private session. Yeah, get a little help from Frank Talks. Whoa, whoa, get by with a little help from Frank Talks. You gotta try a little help from Frank Talks. What do you do when your love goes away? Try coaching one-on-one. How do I sign up to turn things around? Just sign up at FrankTalks.com. Yeah, get by with help from Frank Talks. I get by with little help from Frank Talks. Time to try a little help from Frank Talks.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank, he's got some tips. Just go to FrankTalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, Frank has been there too. So log on to FrankTalks.com. FrankTalks.com.
love, sex, dating and relationships. Visit FrankTalks.